Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another live session with me. My name is Teacher Alex here with Learning English with Oxford. It's so nice to be back here with you for another live class. So, welcome, everybody. I hope you're having a good Wednesday so far. We've actually been really lucky today. The weather in the UK, in England, is really sunny. So I'm looking out my window and I'm seeing blue skies and sunshine. So that is just so nice to see. So, what about you guys? Where are you watching from today? Hi, Neela. How are you? Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, exactly. Hi, Neela, and hi, Stefan. Welcome back. Good to have you here with us. I know you joined us for our previous lives as well. So it's good to have you back with us in the live classroom today. So, really nice. So, where is everybody coming in from today? Elenica, thank you. Wore the orange t-shirt today. Hello from Argentina. Hi, Argentina. Hi, Massi. Hi, Massimo from Germany. Fantastic. Moldova, Angola. Wow. Levin, Somalia. We've got people from all over the place, from Panama as well. And Radwa back with us again from Cairo in Egypt. From Berlin, Germany. Fantastic. Now, that is so great, isn't it? So we can do these live sessions, and it's nice because we get to get together, all of us from all over the world, and try to improve our English skills as a team. And that's fantastic, isn't it? So in our previous live class on Monday, we talked all about natural expressions that you can use every day in English. So if you haven't seen that video, you can go to our YouTube channel, Learning English with Oxford, and you can watch the live replay. We learned some great phrases that you can use in lots of different contexts for everyday life to help you to sound more natural with your English. So fantastic. So here we go. We've got a few more people from Kosovo. Greetings from Spain. Welcome back, Maria. Good to have you with us. Oh, 40 degrees in the south. That is very hot. Make sure you're careful with that heat. Good afternoon, John. Good to have you with us from Egypt as well. We've got Hungary with us. And the weather in Panama is sunny, and that is good. And hello from Mexico City. Awesome. We've got absolutely almost every country covered. We're getting into the group, and that is so nice to see. Okay, so let me just introduce myself to you, everyone. So my name is Alex. I'm an English teacher. I'm based here in the UK in England. I live in the South Coast, and I've been teaching English for quite a while now. And we've been working with the OUP for a while, and it's fantastic. And we're enjoying these live sessions together, aren't we? So if you have any questions for me, as always, just put them in the comment section, and we will be able to answer, or I will be able to answer some of those questions for you. Oh, we've got Denya from Mexico City, Indonesia. Oh, we've got Anna from Germany, Argentina, Belarus. Fantastic. We've got so many people here with us from absolutely everywhere. Now, hopefully you've got yourself a cup of tea or maybe a cup of coffee to enjoy our live session today. I want you to feel fueled and ready to learn in our class, okay? So today we are going to be talking all about phrasal verbs. All about phrasal verbs. And that's great. You brought your friends. That's fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. So here's a question for you. What do you think about phrasal verbs? Okay. How do you feel about phrasal verbs? Do you find them annoying? Do you find them frustrating? Or maybe they're easy for you. What do you think? How do you feel about phrasal verbs in your English? Oh, dzień dobry to Poland. Hi, Tia. Okay, so we've got some feedback here. So Love phrasal verbs. So Anna and Dina is saying, I love phrasal verbs. Okay. What about you guys? Do you love phrasal verbs or do you find them challenging? What do you think? Let's get some feedback here. Hmm. Here we go. Lots of comments coming through. Phrasal verbs, sometimes to teach ESL students. Yeah, good. Maria, I'm especially interested in phrasal verbs. They're so difficult and I sometimes feel frustrated. 100%. Phrasal verbs can be so frustrating, can't they? We're going to explore this a little bit more later in our class as well, okay? Stefan, they are a little bit difficult. Yeah, they can be difficult, can't they? Here we go. Neela, they're annoying. Crying, laughing emoji face, right? But sometimes I just use them without recognizing it. Yeah, exactly. Now, this is what happens. The further along you get in your English learning journey, the more natural it will become to use these phrasal verbs. So you might start to immerse yourself more in English and you don't even realize it, but you actually start to use phrasal verbs in your vocabulary. Let's get some more opinions here. They're frustrating. Yeah, they're hard to learn, all of them. Phrasal verbs can have so many different meanings. Hmm. Yep, ESL students sometimes get frustrated while studying phrasal verbs. Few more here. I just wonder if native speakers know them all. That's a good question. That is a good question. Okay, fantastic. Really good. So, what I'm understanding and what I'm getting from all the comments here is that we realize that phrasal verbs are very important when it comes to our English, whether that's our listening skills, our speaking, our reading, or our writing, but they can be difficult or frustrating to learn and to use. And this is because maybe they have different meanings or their meanings are not obvious when we first read or hear them. So, we're going to explore these topics a little bit more in our live class today. Okay. But it's really great to get all this feedback in our comment section. So, keep putting in your comments. I want to get your opinions, your views, your questions, everything. Okay. So, let's have a look. Alina here. Hi, teacher. It's hard to learn for me. Interesting. Okay, fantastic. Well, what we're going to do, let's go ahead and look at our class work today. So, first of all, as always, just going to introduce myself a little bit more. So, like I said, my name is Alex. I'm an English teacher and I create content as well on social media as Alex Worldwide to help you to improve your English skills. Okay. It's all about making English seem more comfortable, more natural, so that you can be more confident when you're using your English. I want you to speak real, natural English, not this stiff textbook kind of English that you can learn if you're just reading about the language, okay? I've also been fortunate enough to volunteer all around the world doing different projects. I'm a native English speaker. As I said, I'm from the South Coast, and it's my passion to help you to become, more comfortable, more confident with your English. Because that's the goal, isn't it? We all want to become more confident English speakers. So let's jump into our class. So, like I said, if at any time throughout the session you have any questions, any feedback, anything you want to say, then please put it into the comments. And I really appreciate that engagement. Thank you so much. Okay. Let's have a look. Oh, this is a really nice comment from Kuno here. They're like salt and spice of the language. Without them, our speech would be tasteless. Now, that is so interesting, isn't it? So, when we use phrasal verbs or different English or different expressions in English, it makes it more interesting and more flavorful. So, yeah, fantastic. That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, let's go ahead and have a look in our at our class today. So let me put this up on our screen. So here we go. So you know who I am. So this is the first thing that we're going to talk about. So why are phrasal verbs important? Okay, why are they important? Now, you don't need to use phrasal verbs to be able to communicate in English. You don't need them. But why are they important? What do you think? Please put in the comments for me. Why do you think phrasal verbs are important? Let's get some feedback. What do you think? Why are phrasal verbs really important? Let's have a look. Good, Kunal. Okay. So they help you to understand native speakers. That's great. That's a really good point. So when a native speaker uses a phrasal verb, you're able to understand exactly what they mean. Yeah, that's a really good point. Good. Okay, Olga here. To sound more natural. That's good. That's another reason why phrasal verbs are important. If we use them, we sound so much more natural when we're using and speaking English. So well done. Good. And Dina here. Native speakers use them all the time. We do. I use phrasal verbs all the time to speak. So it's really important if you want to increase your level of English, you need to learn them. Good. Art here, to speak more fluently. So important. They're a natural part of the language. Native speakers use them, and it adds a different flow to our daily conversation. Fantastic. Well done, everyone, for getting so involved in the comments. It's great to see that interchange of encouragement there, and we're working hard together. So let's look at some of these points on our sheets here. So native speakers use them all the time in everyday speech. Exactly. So like many of you already said, native speakers use them, so you need to learn them. Secondly, they make your English sound more natural and more fluent. So the more we use these expressions, the higher our English is going to get, and we're going to become more fluent. Thirdly, you're going to hear them everywhere. So when you're watching a movie or a TV show, when you're listening to music and you're having conversations, you will hear phrasal verbs. Okay, so by being able to understand them, that's going to help you to feel more confident with your English. And then mastering them or really understanding them helps you with your listening and your understanding to see whether someone is talking formally or informally with you. Good, good, good. So, for example, here, instead of cancel the meeting, which is very basic, clear, standard English, a native might use the phrasal verb call off and say, let's call off the meeting. It's shorter, it's more casual, it's very common, it sounds incredibly natural with your English. So phrasal verbs are so important. Let's go ahead. But here's the question, isn't it? So many of you have expressed in the comments that you find phrasal verbs to be difficult, to be challenging. Lots of you said that you find them interesting, but you don't know. They're hard to learn for you. Okay. They can have so many different meanings. They're frustrating, they're challenging, and they're even annoying. Okay. So let's look at why they're like this. Let's find the answer. Why are they so difficult? Well, like we see here in our first bullet point, the meanings aren't always literal. So when you see or read or hear a phrasal verb, sometimes, like Anna said here, they don't relate to the meaning. Okay. So, for example, give up isn't about handing or giving something to someone upwards. If you were to take give up literally, it would be to give up. But that's not what the phrasal verb actually means. Okay. So that is where it can be confusing. Secondly, many phrasal verbs have multiple meanings. Okay, so sometimes they can mean various different things. So, for example, take off. Now, take off can mean to remove an item of clothing. So, for example, I take off my hat or I take off my jacket, or it could be when the plane takes off. It means several different things. Again, very frustrating. Who else can relate to these frustrations? If you have found these things to be difficult, please put your comment there so we can see that you struggle with these things too. Often when we're learning English like this, we can feel a little bit alone. So it's good to see that we all struggle with the same things, okay? So let's go on to our next bit. Some are separable, some aren't. So pick up the phone versus look after someone. We can't separate them, and some we can. And lastly, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of phrasal verbs. So which ones do we actually need to learn and which ones are not very important? So these are all reasons why phrasal verbs are difficult and why they are challenging. But the good news is that you can overcome this problem, you can deal with it, you can see light at the end of the tunnel, and you can progress, okay? So let's have a look and see how we can do that. So what we're going to do in this next section now is we're going to learn some phrasal verbs together, okay? So what we're going to do, so these phrases, they're going to help you sound more confident, they're going to help you to respond naturally in conversations, and they're going to help you to understand native speakers better. So at the moment, when you're watching a TV show and you don't quite understand everything that's being said, these phrasal verbs are going to help you to have a better understanding of everyday conversational English. So what I want you to do is get a notebook or open your notes app on your phone, and I want you to write down these phrases, these phrasal verbs that I'm going to give you. So if you've got your notebook ready, please comment, I'm ready. I want to see that you're ready to go ahead with the next part of our class. So if you're ready, if you've got your notebook, if you're ready to take some expressions down, then please comment, I am ready. And let's see if you're ready to go. Yep, here we go. Alinka, Anne is ready. Who else is ready, guys? Let's see. Who's ready for some new expressions? Good. Made in Berlin. Ready. Perfect. So we're going to be looking at phrasal verbs that you can use in your English. Good. Alina's ready. And Dina's ready. Rad was ready. T's ready. Maria's ready. Okay, guys, I think you are ready. Okay, let's go. Let's go. So first of all, let's look at some phrasal verbs that you can use in a work setting and in an education setting. So let's imagine you're working with an international company. So who here works with an international company, or who here needs to use English at work? If you use English at work, then please let me know in the comments. I want to see who here uses English at work. Lots of good comments there. Lots of people ready for this. Fantastic. It's great to see you motivated and ready to go. So who uses English in their workplace at the moment? Okay. Who needs English for their education or for their work? Yeah, so Maria, she uses English in her work at the moment. Okay, good. So some of these phrases are going to be really useful. Yeah, wants to learn them. Not really sometimes. Yeah, lots of international colleagues. Okay, let's see. So let's go ahead and have a look at our first phrasal verb here. So we're going to start easy and we're going to get more difficult and more challenging. So our first one, take on. Take on. So what does it mean, this phrasal verb, to take on? Now, this phrasal verb means to accept responsibility or a task. Okay, so you take on responsibility, you take on a task. So, for example, she took on a new role at work and is learning fast. Okay, she took on a new role or she took on a new job and is learning fast. A really nice phrasal verb that you can use to help your English to sound more fluent and a higher level. So let's see who can use this phrasal verb take on in a comment for me. I want to see, guys, what can you do? Throw those expressions in the comments, and let's see if we can get some feedback and some kind of work together here. So to take on that phrasal verb. What does that mean to take on? So take on responsibility, take on a task. What do you think? Let's have a look here. So it means she took on a new role at work and is learning fast. Oh, here we go. So, Anne, I took on two different departments at work. Yeah, something like that is very good. I took on two different departments. You took responsibility for two departments at work. Really nicely used. Well done, guys. Okay, let's have a look at our next one here. Okay, to go over. Now, to go over something means to review or check something carefully. So to review or check something carefully. So for example, let's go over your homework before the test. Let's go over your homework before the test. Okay, good. Okay, some another great examples here from our previous one. So Neil, I took on some new regions at work and I have a lot on my plate now. Great, nice use of that idiom, a lot on my plate as well. Good. Example here. Romandina, Sandra was a couch potato, so we don't expect her to take on responsibility for a clean house. Good, good. I took on after my father. He decided to take on the project management role. I went over my notes for the exam. Yeah, good. Okay, perfect. Let's go over phrasal verbs before answering, Alex. Yeah, fantastic. Excellent. Good job, Neela. Good. Okay. Katya here. I go over my notes before the lesson with my teacher. Fantastic. So to review, to check something, really good use of that phrasal verb there. Great to see you working on this. Olga, my manager always asks me to take on the extra task. Yeah, good use of that phrasal verb. I can't take on any more work right now. I'm too busy. Good. Okay, fantastic. Right, so now we're going to go up to a higher level now, okay? So to zero in on. So to zero in on. So what does it mean to zero in on something? What do we think to zero in on something? Well, it means to focus all attention on one specific thing. So, for example, the team zeroed in on the core issue during the meeting. Okay, so the team zeroed in on the core or the most important issue during the meeting. Okay, good. Some great examples here from Maria. The teacher zeroed in on the lesson before continuing. Yes, so the teacher focused all their attention on the lesson before they continued. Yeah, really good use of that expression there, Maria. Fantastic. We've got some great students here today working with phrasal verbs. I absolutely love to see it. So you realize phrasal verbs are not as difficult as they may first appear to be. Okay, it just takes a little bit of work, a bit of support, some motivation, and some practice, and you will get that. So well done, everyone, for all of your examples and all of your comments. Really is great to see that. So thank you so much. Okay, guys, so we've already looked at three here. So to take on, to go over, to zero in on. So let's look at our fourth one now. Let's look at our fourth one now. Okay, let's just have a couple look at these comments. So Katia here, zero in on. Can you also say zoom in? Interesting. So if you zoom in on something, generally that kind of means just to make something bigger, to see it better. So it would have a different meaning to zero in on, but really good question. Thank you so much for asking that. Okay, good. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for the support, Ollie. Appreciate that. Good. And John here, we need to zero in on what is important before moving on to the next step. Yeah, good. Okay, let's look at this next one, to wade through. Okay, to wade through. So this means to work through a large amount of material with difficulty. So to wade through, to work through a large amount of material with difficulty. Interesting. Good. So we've got some new expressions here. I'm pleased. I'm pleased. I'm glad it's new for you, Indina. So what does it mean to work through something big, basically? So let's imagine you've got lots and lots and lots and lots of paperwork to do. You've got so much paperwork to do. You could say that you need to wade through that paperwork. You've got so much to do, you need to wade through it. I must wade through all the information before saying something. Yeah, good, exactly, good point. Students often wade through dense textbooks. Yeah, exactly, good, good, really nice. Okay, fantastic. So before we move on to the next section there, we've looked at 4 phrasal verbs that you can use, particularly in a work or a study environment. Now, you can use these expressions in other ways as well, but do you have any questions on any of these phrasal verbs that we've looked at so far? I want to make sure everything is crystal clear. So any questions on these expressions that we've looked at so far? What do you think? Any questions? Let's see. So we've had some really great examples of all of you students putting in here. It's great to see all that work being put in. Okay, good. Okay, it doesn't seem like we've got any questions on those expressions or those phrasal verbs. So maybe we have covered that. Okay, okay. Past. Oh, lots of things coming through now. Let's one. We had to wade through the crowd to get to the stage. Yeah, good. Another great example. Well done, T. Thank you for that. Okay, let's move on now to our next section here. So now we're looking at phrasal verbs for social life. Okay, so who likes socializing, guys? Who likes to talk? Who likes to speak with their friends? Who likes to meet new people? If you are a people person, if you like to talk with people, then please let me know. Sometimes. Okay, Neela, sometimes you like to talk with people. That's okay. Good. Who else? Is anybody else a people person? Oh, okay. So we've got sometimes, not me. Oh, what else do we think, guys? Is anyone? I get on with my classmates. Nice. Good use of that expression. Yeah, hilarious. Okay, fantastic. So let's look at this first one here. So Adelino has used this expression really well here. So to get on with my classmates. So get on or with someone. So this means to have a good relationship. Okay, to have a good relationship. So I really get on with my new neighbors, or I get on with my parents, or I get on with my mother-in-law, something like that. Okay, good. Elvira, she really gets on with her mother-in-law. Fantastic. Any other examples here? I met a lot of friendly people in the hub and I get on with some of them. Okay, nice. Excellent. Good, good, good. Okay, perfect. Right, let's have a look at our second one here then. To cheer up. To cheer up. So what does that mean, to cheer up? Well, to cheer up means to become happier or make someone feel better. So to become happier or make someone feel better. So to cheer up, okay? To make them feel better. So I brought her some chocolate to cheer her up. So I got some chocolate, I brought it to her to cheer her up, to make her feel happier. Okay, it's a really nice phrasal verb that we use with our English to help us improve. Okay, so to cheer up. You could also say it to someone. to encourage them to be happier. Cheer up, to cheer up. Good, Radwa. Really good example here. I took my friend to the cinema to cheer her up. Good. The sessions cheer me up mostly. Here we go. Do people in the UK say get on well? In the US, they say get along. Yep. So we use both of these expressions because American English and British English are becoming a lot more kind of intertwined because of the TV shows and movies that we watch. You can generally use some of these expressions and phrasal verbs together. So if you were in the UK and you said that you get along with your work colleagues, I would completely understand that you mean the same thing as to get on with them. So really nice. Good. Okay. The friendly atmosphere of class, you would say cheers me up. Good. He always cheers me up with his weird jokes. Good. I bought some apples to cheer my mother up. Good. So to cheer up means to liven up, lighten up, perk up. Yeah, good. Fantastic. Some really good examples here. I love to see them. Olga, she has a bad character and doesn't get on with anyone. I like to buy little gifts for my family to cheer them up. Perfect. So you've used two phrasal verbs there that we've learned so far perfectly well, Olga. Well done. Really nice. Okay, let's go to our third one here, to clam up. To clam up. So what does it mean to clam up? Well, to clam up means to suddenly stop talking or refuse to speak. Okay, so to suddenly stop talking or refuse to speak. So he completely clammed up when they asked about his past. Okay, so he stopped talking, he clammed up. To clam up. Okay, and our fourth one, so these last two are quite high level here, to fawn over. To fawn over. So to give someone excessive praise or attention. So if you give someone too much praise, too much attention, often if you don't really mean it, you can fawn over them. Okay, he's always fawning over the boss. It's embarrassing. Okay, so four expressions, four phrasal verbs that you can use in your social life there. Okay, so here we go. Some more examples. I always clammed up, or I have always clammed up if I had to speak in front of a lot of people. Good. Okay. I get on well with my family and pals. Wonderful. I prefer clamming up when people ask me personal questions. Yeah, good, good, good. Okay, so we've got some great examples there of these phrasal verbs being used. Perfect. Fantastic, guys. So far, we've already looked at 8 different phrasal verbs that you can use in your English in different situations, okay? So well done. Great work there. Let's have a look at our next section. So before we move on, does anyone have any questions about anything that we've looked at so far? It's good to get that interaction. So if anyone has any questions about some phrasal verbs, then please put them in the comments and I'll do my best to try to answer some of those, okay? We've got some great examples here coming through. During the interview, she suddenly clammed up. Yeah, good, good. Peter is always fawning over his neighbors. Excellent. Well done. That's great. Okay, good job. Good job. Well done. Okay, let's go back to our thing here. Right. So let's now change our context. So let's look at phrasal verbs, but now we're going to be looking for phrasal verbs to do with news or the society or world issues. So these are phrasal verbs that we might see in the news. So let's say we're watching a news broadcast or we're reading a newspaper or we're talking about world issues. Now, these are phrasal verbs that we can use in those situations, okay? So let's look at our first one here. So to cut down on. So if you cut down on something, it means you reduce it. So maybe it's money, energy, food, something like that. So for example, I'm going to cut down on the amount of money I spend, or we need to cut down on energy or cut down on the food that I'm eating. So the example here, we need to cut down on energy use to help the planet. We need to cut down on energy use to help the planet. Good. Alex, you need to cut down on pizzas. Yeah, thanks, Undina. Yeah, true, true, true. Yeah, I need to cut down on pizzas. I need to reduce the amount of pizzas I'm eating. Can I use cut down on for emotions as well? Interesting. So do you mean cut down on happiness or cut down on greediness? I would understand what you mean, but it might not sound as natural compared to if you were using it for something like money, energy, food, those type of things. But see if you can put that in an example for me using emotions and cut down in the comments, and we can have a look at that, Neela. But yeah, great question. He had to cut down on the sugar. Okay, he had to cut down on the sugar that she was taking because of his health. So he had to cut down on the sugar he was taking because of his health. Well done, perfectly used. Doctor advised her to cut down on sugar. Good. I need to cut down on caffeine. I'm cutting down on sugar. Fantastic. Some great examples there. Well done, everybody. Really, really good. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay, let's have a look at our second one. So to speak out or to speak out against. So this is where you publicly say that something is wrong. So you decide to speak out against it. So for example, she spoke out against injustice in her community. Okay. She had to speak out against injustice in her community. She had to say something. She was holding it back, but then she decided she needed to speak out. Good. Okay, Neela's got our example here. Sometimes I have to cut down on socializing to get some energy back. Yeah, perfect. That's good. I thought you meant more like when you said emotions, cut down on happiness, cut down on anger, which doesn't necessarily sound too natural, but this is a great sentence. So well done for putting that phrasal verb in context there. Well done. Good. Okay. Another question. So what's the difference between speak up and speak out? So they'd be very similar, really. So if you speak up about an issue or you speak out about an issue, generally it kind of means the same thing. If you speak up about something, it might just be to one or two people, or it could be to lots of people. Whereas to speak out about something generally gives the idea of it being a more public thing where lots of people will find out about it. But that is a great question. And yeah, they are very similar, but to speak out carries a more public expression kind of meaning. Hopefully that makes sense when I answered that for you. Okay, let's look at our third one now. Let's look at our third one. So to root out. So what does it mean to root out? Well, it means to find and eliminate something harmful or unwanted. Okay, so if you root something out, it means you find the problem and you get rid of it. Okay, so for example, the new task force aims or is trying to root out, so to get rid of or to remove corruption in local government. So yeah, good use of that phrasal verb there, to root out. Okay, and our fourth one, to whip up. To whip up. Now this means to stir up emotions, usually negative emotions, fear or anger in a group of people. Okay, so the speaker whipped up the crowd with his dramatic warnings. Okay, with his dramatic warnings. So we've got some examples here. So to root out toxic people, exactly. So if you root out toxic people, it means you find them and then you eliminate them. You get rid of them from your life. You root out toxic people from your life. Good. Okay. The government aims to root out illegal activities in the little town. Excellent. Um, Perfect. I need to cut down on being a drama queen. Okay, fun. That's a good one. That's a good one. Really nice. Okay, so we've got four phrasal verbs there that we can use when it comes to kind of news, society, world issues, or any other context where you feel like it makes sense. Okay, so we've looked at to cut down on, we've looked at to speak out, to root out, and to whip up. So fantastic. So some good work there. So any questions on any of those phrasal verbs, to put the question in the comments and we can talk about it. But well done, everybody. You're doing really well today with these expressions, and you're learning them. And the key thing here is try to use them as much as you possibly can. Okay. So let's go ahead and have a look at our next one. So here we go. Now we're looking at phrasal verbs for travel or kind of for everyday life. Okay, let's have a look. Just a question on our previous one. Adina said, whip up also means to prepare food quickly, right? Yeah, good, good, good. So you could say, I'm just going to whip up something for dinner. I'm going to whip up a cake, means to prepare something quickly. That is the frustrating thing with phrasal verbs, isn't it? Sometimes they can mean different things. But as long as you use them in the right context, you're okay. Right, let's have a look at our next one. So to set off. Now, to set off means to start a journey. So we set off early to beat the traffic. We set off early to beat the traffic. So when you set off, it just means you start a journey, you begin something. So let's imagine I am traveling from London up to Edinburgh in Scotland. I could say I will set off at 8 a.m. When I travel to Edinburgh. I'm going to set off at 10 a.m., something like that. Okay, it's the time or how you say you start your journey. Okay, I'm going to set off in October to my new journey. Nice, good, good, good. Okay. Okay, so we've got a question here on whip up again. Let's just quickly go back to that one. So to whip up, another example of whip up. So we talked about how whip up can mean in regards to whipping up food or whipping up something quickly. And it can also mean to, stir up the emotions. So the audience at the music concert was whipped up when the singer decided to cancel their show. They were whipped up and they got angry. Okay, let's go ahead and have a look at our next part here. So, we've got some more expressions here. So the hikers set off up the mountain trail around 7 a.m. Nice. Okay, I never complain about waking at 3 a.m. when I have to set off early to fly to England. Yes. Let's make sure we haven't forgotten anything before we set off. Good. He set off on his journey before telling anyone where he was going. Great. We will set off to travel to New York in September. Good. So you just change that slightly and say we will set off to New York in September, because set off means to start your travel anyway. So well done. Okay, pick up. So to pick up means several things. So it could be to pick up your mug or your cup of coffee. It could also mean to collect someone or something. So let's say, can you pick me up from the station at 6? Or can you pick me up at the airport in the morning? The opposite of this would be to drop off. So can you drop me off in the morning? Can you drop me off this evening? Good. Okay, here we go. So Anne picked me up in a pub in London and we set off at 10 o'clock on the next day. Good. I picked my friend Sheila. So make sure you say up. I picked my friend Sheila up before going shopping. I will pick up the kids from school. Excellent. Okay, hold up. Our third one now, to hold up. As a hold up is to cause a delay or obstruction. So let's say we were held up at the border for 2 hours. So when I traveled to, I think it was New York City a couple of years ago, I was held up at the airport because there was a long queue at the immigration. Okay, so at immigration, there was a long queue. So I was held up. There was a delay. Okay. And our last one here on this section, to swan around means to move around confidently or arrogantly as if you're important. Okay. It's annoying, isn't it, when you see people swanning around. So, for example, he was swanning around the airport lounge like he owned the place. So he was moving around as if he was very, very important. Okay. He was swanning around like he owned the place. Really good. Okay. Let's have a look at some of these comments. Is it possible to use pick up for understanding something? For example, phrasal verbs. Exactly. So, like we said before, sometimes phrasal verbs can be annoying because they can have several different meanings. So, with pick up, we've already said about pick up the cup, pick up from the airport, and it also can mean to understand something as well. So, I pick up English very easily, or I struggle to pick up Spanish. Good. Great question, Richard. And well done. You've really helped the class there. So perfect. Let's have a look. Don't worry. Sam will come to pick you up and you'll get your plane in time. Perfect. The flood held up in the motorway during several days. So you would just change this slightly and say the flood held up the motorway traffic for several days. Or here, Radwell, the accident held up the traffic for a couple of hours. Excellent, good. Tourists swan around the park without a care. Excellent, good. Next one. I need to find someone who can pick me up. There isn't public transport at this time. Perfect. Yeah, and pick up can also mean to learn something as well. Fantastic. So we've looked there at 4 more phrasal verbs that you can use for maybe travel or for just everyday life. And what is interesting about phrasal verbs is often you can use them in many different contexts, and they're not just limited to one specific type of situation, but sometimes they can be. Really, really good. So do we have any more questions before we move on to our next section? So to pick someone up or pick up someone. Yep, you can use them both. She was aware, swanning around the square because she didn't have to do anything. So she was swanning around the square because she didn't have to do anything. So she was walking around, she was feeling confident, feeling arrogant. She didn't have to do anything else. Good. The wind picked up, so it increased. Good. Another use of that phrasal verb, pick up. Interesting. In September, I'm going to set off to Barcelona and Marrakesh. Fantastic. So some really, really good expressions there. So we've looked at what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12 different phrasal verbs that you can use in your English. And as we talked about at the beginning, phrasal verbs are important because they help you to sound more natural, they help you to understand native speakers, and they help you to progress with your English level. But the question is, how can you learn phrasal verbs by yourself? Because often when we're learning a language, we need to put that work in or do that work on our own or by ourselves, don't we? So let me give you a little bit of a step-by-step guide on how we can do this. So it's very similar to how we were talking about natural expressions in our previous video. So this is what you need to do. You need to watch native content. So you need to watch TV shows, watch movies, watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, have the subtitles on, okay? Identify the phrasal verbs. So pause, write these down, say them out loud, keep a record of them. Now you need to use these in your own sentences, okay? So speak them, write them, and review them. Don't just keep a long list of phrasal verbs, because that list will just get longer and longer. And if you don't actually practice using them, then they're not going to be helpful for you. So it's really important that you learn these phrasal verbs, but that you make an effort to actually use them in your English. So, any questions about how you can learn phrasal verbs by yourself or on your own? What do you think? Any questions that you have about how you can learn phrasal verbs on your own? I know it can be challenging and I know it can be difficult, but if you put that work in little bit by bit, it will become easier. Okay, it will become easier. Right, let's go ahead and have a look at our next part here. So, excuse me. So, thank you for joining this section all about phrasal verbs here. So, what I want to challenge you to do is try to use at least one of these phrasal verbs in your own English, whether that's in a real conversation with someone else, whether that's on some sort of AI platform that you can use, or if it's in a written form on social media, on a comment, or texting, or even if you've written it in our comments today. So that's the challenge that I want to give you today. Pick at least one phrasal verb and try to use them. So let's have a look now. Any questions, guys? Let's work through some of our questions here. So we've seen some fantastic examples in our comments of use of these phrasal verbs. So let's have a look. So we've got some concerns here. So the problem is that you learn them and then in 2 days' time, you forget them. And I'm sure many people here who are watching the live or watching this video can relate to that same problem. You learn them, you hear them, maybe you write them down, but then in a few days' time, you just forget them because you're not actually using them. Now, the solution to this problem is to push yourself and try to use them in real life, in real situations. That is how you remember them, okay? And keep practicing, keep working on them. That's going to help you to progress and learn more, okay? It really is going to help you to do well. So let's have a look here. Good. Swan around. I'll use it. I liked it. Fantastic. Okay, good. Good. I need to zero in on phrasal verbs this week and wade through the list Alex made. Fantastic. That is a great use. That is great use of those two of the phrasal verbs that we've looked at in our session already today. That is perfect. Let's see. Okay. So here we go. So what topics would you like us to cover in future live streams? What do you think? What future topics would you like us to cover? Let's have a look. So Maria, I would like you to explore inversions in the future. Wow, okay. Now that is a really interesting topic when it comes to English, inversions. That would make for a great class as well. I agree with you there. Okay. And Dina here is saying slang. Okay, slang could be an interesting one to talk about. Let's just briefly talk a little bit about slang now, actually. Why is it important, or why do you think it's important to use slang in your English? Why is that important? We previously talked about how phrasal verbs, idioms, natural expressions, they add that salt, that flavor to our language to make sure it has more, it's more interesting and it's better for us. So yeah, slang is a really good reason for that. Look, really good. I'm leaving this class swanning around with new knowledge. Okay, so you're going to go around all arrogant and confident now because you've learned something new. That's fantastic. Thank you, teacher. Super clear and educational, full of new info. I'm really pleased that you found it beneficial. Okay, let's have a look. A few more. Idiomatic expressions. Yeah, good. So, fellow teacher Rael, he actually did another video, another live class recently, all about idiomatic expressions. So, if you're interested in learning more about the most commonly used idioms in English conversations, then make sure you go to our YouTube channel. That's Learning English with Oxford. Make sure you subscribe to that channel so you keep up to date with all the latest classes, live information, and all the content that we put out there to really help you to progress with your English. But one of the classes that he has done recently is actually all about idioms and how we use them in our English. Okay, so it's really important. Make sure you're following us on all of our platforms for the latest information to help you with your English. It's really good. Okay. Slang is crucial to understand British people. Yeah, English people use slang all the time. So it's important to learn these expressions to be able to understand and communicate effectively and to a high level with our English. Okay, so we're talking, when is the next live class? That's the big question, isn't it? So this week we've had a live class on Monday at 2 p.m. We've also had another live class session today at 2 p.m. And our next one is going to be on Monday at 2 p.m. as well. Now, these are amazing opportunities for you to be able to come to a Learning English with Oxford class and really learn together. We've got people from all over the world here joining into our live class. We're helping each other, we're learning from each other, and we're growing with our English. Okay, so it really is a great opportunity for you to come. Okay, so if you're interested, make sure that you go over to either our Facebook page or our YouTube and you're signed up so that you'll be notified when that class starts. But I remind you, it will be Monday at 2 p.m. Okay, we've also got collocations. Students want to learn more about collocations. That's a very high level of English. Very important, very good. Thank you, Ollie, for all of the support. I really appreciate you coming here with us today. Thank you so much, Olga, as well. Your explanation is clear as usual. A lot of thanks. Really appreciate all the support on all the lives this week. It really is a great opportunity, isn't it, to do this? And thank you for the wonderful lives this week. Oh, thank you so much, Neela. It really, really means the world to me. It's a great way to be able to learn by doing these live sessions, isn't it? So make sure, like we've said, that you're following us on all of our channels. This live class will go up onto our YouTube channel as well. So you can review it. You can recheck some of the phrasal verbs that we've looked at, as well as looking at some of the natural phrases that we've looked at before. Okay. Now, the most important thing is that the phrasal verbs that you've learned today, make an effort to actually use them in your English. Okay. It's no good learning them and then just forgetting about them. You need to take these phrasal verbs in and you need to make an effort to really use them. That's how you progress, and that is how you improve. Okay. Really appreciate. Oh, now this is a big question. The difference between do and make. That's a whole big topic, and one that confuses so many language learners. So probably one that we will cover in another live session. I believe, again, one of our previous videos with Marwan, with Rael, we talked about some of the most common mistakes that English learners make with their English, and the difference between make and do was one of these most common mistakes. Okay, so go ahead and check out that video on our YouTube channel, and it's going to help you to really understand a proper answer to that question. Thank you, Maiden Berlin. Appreciate all that support. Thank you, Zara. Thank you, Andina. Thank you so much, Adelino. Good. Love all the support there. That is fantastic, guys. So the weather in the UK now is still a little bit sunny. So maybe it could be a good afternoon, evening to go for a walk. It's good to get out, do some exercise, isn't it? Oh, look at all these comments coming through. That was a great lesson. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Looking forward to the next class. Thanks, teacher Alex. Fantastic. So if you haven't already, please make sure you use some of those phrasal verbs in the comments on our video on YouTube, okay? Because that video will be up there. And I want to see those comments coming through. Seeing you use phrasal verbs in context is really going to help you. So thank you guys for all of the support on our video today. We're going to sign off now, but I can't wait to see you at our next live class. See you next time, guys.